Hello, my amazing students. I hope that you had a great weekend. I hope you have been able to spend this first week just kind of settling into the course, kind of getting your bearings and getting used to an online course if you've never taken one before. I know there are some things to learn and figure out. I am certainly not a Blackboard expert, so if you have questions, I will help as much as I can, but I will also probably refer you back to Blackboard a lot too, as I'm still learning a lot of the tricks of the trade. So, anyways, I'm so glad you're here. Today, we will officially kind of launch into the meat of the course, starting with chapter 1, of course. And so we'll be talking today a little bit about the history of psychology, kind of the major thinkers and contributors, and a little bit about experiments towards the end. But let's kind of hop in. First of all, you should know about me that I am quite a psychology history nerd. This is the stuff that really gets me excited, talking about, kind of the original thinkers and contributors to the field, kind of how they developed their thoughts, and just all the things that have contributed to the treatment tools that I use with clients in the here and now. That's all really exciting. And I'm also incredibly grateful for these minds that have provided me with such a wealth of information and resources. Just a little bit more about my history. I was actually planning to be an attorney from a very young age. I was just intrigued. When I started college, my plan was to get a political science degree and to transition, do law school. And then, I took some psychology courses as part of kind of some prereqs, and I fell in love, and I really felt pulled in this direction, and it was the right direction for me. I really have enjoyed it, both the educational aspects, but also just being able to sit with clients and to help them achieve desired change. It's just such an honor. So with that being said, let's hop in a little bit more to the chapter, and let's talk about Wundt. So Wundt is kind of attributed with being the father of psychology, if you will. He was one of the first people who was seeing patients coming in with different brands of dysfunction and distress. And he started asking the question, how much of this could be contributed to the brain, to mental health, to emotional health? And so he was the first person that kind of put that on the table, and started some curiosity about that, started some research into that. And so we can thank Mr. Wundt for everything that has come since. And speaking of things that have come since, let's talk a little bit about the infamous Sigmund Freud. So I think even if you've never taken a psychology course in your life, you've probably heard of Sigmund Freud. He is, like I said, he's pretty infamous. He had a lot of ideas about psychology, specifically about the brain, more specifically about the unconscious. He's just a brilliant, brilliant man. Just had a lot of interesting things to say and to contribute. He was really interested in repressed and suppressed memories. And he did a lot of work with that, specifically with his patients. He focused a lot on childhood experiences and believed that those were really foundational to our functioning in the here and now. And so, yeah, there are a lot of things that we'll talk more about as the semester continues in regards to Sigmund Freud and his contributions to the field. But while some we might consider bizarre, others are just fascinating. And the fact that a human brain would come up with those things and explore those things and be curious about those things is just fascinating to me. So again, Sigmund Freud is really focused on the unconscious and our childhood experiences as the source of all dysfunction and all distress. He developed an approach that is called psychoanalysis. Psychoanalysis is really delving into the unconscious mind to uncover those repressed and suppressed memories, to bring them to consciousness so that we can understand them and so that we can resolve them. Psychoanalysis is still being practiced today. There are many clinicians who have been trained and who specifically focus on psychoanalysis. So if you're interested, there's still a lot of information out there about psychoanalysis, and it is still accepted as one of the main approaches to treatment. So, like I said before, some of Sigmund Freud's ideas have been somewhat dismissed over time, but certainly there are some which we consider to be foundational to the field. So he is definitely someone that is worth exploring more. Like I said, just a brilliant, fascinating human being. And so then, the chapter transitions to talking about Watson. And Watson wasn't so convinced about the unconscious and about repressed childhood memories as being kind of the sole source of dysfunction. What he believed was that this came down to learned behaviors, and that was really the source of most dysfunction and distress was unhealthy learned behaviors and then habits that grew out of that. And so that was really his focus. And Watson kind of brought behaviorism to the forefront. And he kind of introduced that as something else to consider in the field of psychology as we were trying to figure out more about the mind and about mental health. So within the field of behaviorism, we're also introduced to Ivan Pavlov. And some of you may be familiar with that name. He did the famous dog experiment, the salivation experiment, and we will learn more about that as time goes on too. But he was focused on conditioning. And his main focus in behaviorism was really to kind of prove that behaviors could be changed. So behaviorism as a treatment option was valid because with certain tools and using certain strategies, behaviors could be learned and unlearned. There was also Skinner, who was also really influential in behaviorism. Skinner really focused on behavior reinforcement as a treatment option. And basically how this works is if a behavior is positively reinforced, it's more likely to happen again. And the alternative is true as well. The book gives the example of a baby crying. So a baby cries, a parent figure comes in, picks the baby up, comforts the baby's no longer in distress. The baby internalizes the message that if they cry, a parent figure will come and will provide comfort. And that is positive reinforcement. And so the next time that the baby is in distress, they will anticipate that a parent figure will come and will provide the comfort that they need or meet their need. Okay? So that's some of the main early players in behaviorism. Certainly that field has expanded and grown, and there's new contributors over time, but those are kind of the foundational players. Then we have cognitive theory, and cognitive theory, very simply stated, says that our thoughts determine our behaviors. And so if we have dysfunctional thinking, dysfunctional internalized messages, that those are going to play out in our actions and in our behaviors. Then the book transitions to talking about humanism. And humanism is basically this idea that we as human beings are in control of our lives in the here and now, and that regardless of past experiences, regardless of past learned behaviors, regardless of childhood experiences, that we can choose to change in the here and now. And that given support and tools, we are in control of our destiny. We're not beholden to our past. We are kind of the champions of our own lives. So within this umbrella of humanism, we have a couple of really important players early on. We have Abraham Maslow, who, again, some of you might be familiar with. He provided us with a lot of things, but one of the most helpful is the hierarchy of needs. And this is really Maslow's really important contribution to the field. We are going to learn more about this. We're actually going to do a project on this. I love this concept. Very simply stated, the hierarchy of needs has provided us with some thoughts and a really practical tool for being able to figure out what humans need to thrive. And there are different levels that are included in the hierarchy. Just a really powerful tool. And like I said, we're going to talk so much about this as the semester progresses. But for now, I just want you to know about Maslow, and I want you to know about the hierarchy of needs. Then we get to Carl Rogers, and I must admit to you that Carl Rogers is one of my favorites. When I was introduced to him in my undergrad work, I just had a huge psychology crush, and then in grad school, I chose him to focus on for one of my projects, my research projects. And the more that I knew about him, the more I was a fan. He was just not only a very compassionate and engaged therapist, but also just a really positive force in psychology. He also is known for just providing a lot of just really practical tools for people to change, and for people to change in the here and now. He really, really believed in human ability to control their destiny. And that really resonates with me as well. So those are some of the original foundational schools of thought. And so I guess my question for you is, who got it right? Was it Sigmund Freud? Was it his focus on the unconscious? Is that really the source of, dysfunction and function? Was it Watson? Behaviorism? Is it really about these learned behaviors? What about cognitive theory? Is it about our thoughts? Is that really the sole source of dysfunction? Humanism? What about that? Are we in control of our destiny? Do we hold the keys that we need to unlock our potential? What do you think? Who do you think got it right? Freud? Watson? Rogers? Well, I will tell you that really I think they all got it right. And I know that might seem like a little bit of a cop-out, but hear me out. While there are some therapists who prescribe to one school of thought and practice solely within that school of thought, there are many more of us who are very eclectic in our approach to therapy. And what that means is that we borrow from all of these schools of thought. And here's why. I've been doing psychotherapy for about 17 years, and I've seen a lot of different clients from a lot of different backgrounds. And here's what I can tell you confidently. A lot of my clients have issues from their childhood that they need to deal with, that they need to admit, come to terms with, and resolve. A lot of my clients have unhealthy habits that they have learned over time. And some of them have been conditioned to act and respond and think about the world in unhealthy ways. And I have clients who have really negative internalized messages, really unhealthy thoughts that drive really destructive behaviors. And I have a lot of clients who have just really resilient spirits who really believe that they are in control of their destiny, and with help, they are successful. And so I think all of these schools of thought provide us with insight and tools, and I love that. I love being an eclectic therapist who can offer all of these different ideas and tools to my clients, depending on what they need. And so I think all of these things affect clients. I think all of these schools of thought have something to contribute. And so I'll be curious to hear what you think. Also, I want to tell you that there are many, many schools of thought out there since then. Every year I get, I would say, dozens of invitations to workshops and conferences of different kinds. And many of them are the newest, most cutting edge approach to therapy. And I love it. Most of them have contributed something positive to my work as a therapist. And so I love that. I love that the field is growing and evolving over time. And at the same time, I love that we have these foundational thoughts that we can come back to. And so, yeah, I just think that all of this is really interesting, really important, really helpful. So the second part of the chapter is talking about the scientific approach to experiments and research. Again, this is really fascinating. I'm not going to spend as much time here, but for those of you who are just giddy about research, this is a great section. And I love that it spends time talking about ensuring that we are providing research that is scientifically and ethically sound. I think that's really important, especially in this day and age where truth feels like it's a little bit elusive at times. It becomes that much more important that those who are doing research upon which so many of us kind of rely, it's so important that that be scientifically and ethically sound. And really quickly, I'm going to run through the scientific approach with you, the modern scientific approach. Some of you are probably familiar with this. I'm sure that you covered it in school at some point, but I'll just run through it again just for review. Please take time to review it a little bit more in depth in your book. They do a much better job than I will be able to do in these few moments here. But just a reminder that there are four kind of elements of a scientific approach. So that is description, explanation, prediction, and control. And so description asks the question, what is happening? What am I seeing? What am I observing? Right? That's kind of the first step. And then the explanation portion is to answer the question, why? Why is this happening? Okay. Then the prediction is, when will it happen again? Is this something that is going to repeat itself? And if yes, when? And then the control is, can it be changed? So that is kind of the scientific approach, or the scientific method, if you will, in a nutshell. Again, there's much more to it than this. And if you are excited about research, really spend some time on this. When I was in grad school, I loved research. And so while the approach was a little bit differently worded at that time, the principles and the concepts were the same. And it's exciting to observe something and to ask deeper questions and to observe some more. And to set up control groups to see if your hypothesis about something is correct or not correct. And so the research process can be really fascinating. Certainly, it's not for everyone, but if that is your jam, then yeah, spend some extra time on this section. So all of this is important. All of this is kind of foundational to what we will learn as we progress further. So please spend some time with this chapter and make sure you're comfortable with it and that you understand the concepts. And, obviously, these videos are purely supplemental. Please do not rely on them as your sole source of information for this course, or you will be definitely disappointed come quiz and or exam time. I do these because I want you to feel engaged in the course. I want you to see my face. I want you to have something that resembles a classroom experience. And so that's why I do these videos, but they will not replace your reading. I make no promises about that. So please do read. Please read. One more time, please read, okay? As we're going along, I'm really looking forward to hearing your thoughts and your contributions. Like I said, I want there to be some give and take here, some flow back and forth here. I think that's what makes an online course kind of but I want to leave you with this. I'm so glad you're here. We're going to have a great semester. If you have questions, please reach out. Like I said, I want this to be a give and take, a flow of information. I want you to learn as much as you can. And yeah, I think we're going to have a great time. So we got this. All right. Have a great week. Enjoy chapter 1. And if you need a review of what's due for this week, please take a peek at your syllabus. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.